Hi there, I'm Dr. Shiroko Sokitch, the owner of Heart to Heart Medical Center and the author of the book Healing When It Seems Impossible: 7 Keys to Defy the Odds. And I'm here today to talk to you about migraines. And migraines are a really difficult problem for some people. I have had years of following various people who've had different types of migraines. And, I just recently started doing more research on the recent science about migraines, and I'm not going to go into that because it's quite complicated. So I'm going to talk to you about migraines from the perspective of Chinese medicine. And in Chinese medicine, how the organs work is different than how they work in Western medicine. And how we do things is, of course, slightly different. And I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to give a brief Western medicine explanation of migraines and what makes them happen, but then go more into the Chinese medicine because I've had huge success with helping people with migraines over my career. And I've been doing this for quite a long time. Actually, I had a problem with migraines before I ever got into Chinese medicine, and I didn't know what they were at first. I just started having these really terrible headaches, and they would last me 3 days, and they would come right around my period, and they would last me 3 days, and I would be sick, like terrible headache. I couldn't function. I couldn't barely see. And no matter what I did, it would last 3 days. And one time I even had to go to the emergency room and get a shot in order to get rid of the pain. And this is after I read the first book that I read on Chinese medicine, which is called The Web That Has No Weaver. This was when I was still a surgical resident. And I read this book and I just fell in love with Chinese medicine. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to learn this. And then I met a guy in my hospital. I was doing a rotation in trauma, I think trauma surgery or on the burn unit. I can't remember. But anyway, I was doing a rotation and I met this respiratory therapist who was an acupuncturist. And he had just finished acupuncture school. And so I started talking to him about acupuncture, which I had never experienced. And then I actually I said, oh my God, I have to try acupuncture. So after I left my residency, I went and made an appointment with him. And the first time I had an appointment with him, I happened to have a migraine, which is just crazy, right? So I had this terrible headache and I went in there and I was like, I was going to cancel because I was in so much pain. But he said, hey, come in anyway and we'll see what I can do. So he gave me an acupuncture treatment, and within 3 hours, it was gone. The headache was gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? So that made me, because I had already fallen in love with it from the perspective of having read a book, but this was an experience that had helped me get rid of my migraines. So that was really cool. Anyway, so the whole principle in Chinese medicine, so in Western medicine, what we describe as causing a migraine is that there's a stimulus that sets off a dilation of the blood vessels in your brain. So first they dilate and your brain gets flooded with blood, and then they contract, and then you get a migraine based on that contraction of those blood vessels. Now, the science of that has been broken down much more detailed, like I said, and I can't go into that right now, but that is ultimately that contraction of the blood vessels is what leads to the severe pain. So in Chinese medicine, the organ that regulates the smooth flow of energy in your whole body regulates the ligaments and tendons, and also regulates your menstrual cycles, and that is the liver. The liver regulates all of those things. And when you think about smooth flow of energy in your whole body, it'd be like if you had tension in your neck and shoulders, or if you have irritable bowel where your guts get gassy and bloated and kind of feel stuck and difficult. That is all regulated by the liver, that smooth flow of energy. And when things are flowing smoothly, then your body, your ligaments and tendons work well, you can move easily, your neck isn't stiff and tight, things like that. So the liver also deals with the emotion of anger, and it's the organ that's responsible for handling stress in Chinese medicine. In Western medicine, I would say it would be your adrenals that handle stress, right? But in Chinese medicine, it's the liver. And also, the liver is paired with the gallbladder, and the gallbladder meridian goes along starts actually at your fourth toe, like at the bottom of, it starts up here at the side of your eye, and then it zigzags on the side of your head and down the side of your whole body, all the way down to your fourth toe, so that it ends at your fourth toe. And when you think about it, migraines are mostly one-sided headaches that are very severe, and sometimes you'll have an aura. The liver regulates the eyes as well, and so you may have a flashing lights in your head. And so also that's all connected to liver imbalance. A lot of women get migraines at the beginning of their period or in association with their period. When I was on the birth control pill, I got a migraine every single month, which has led me to not continue to take the pill, actually. But it was the hormone imbalance that generated the headache. And in Chinese medicine, that's because the liver regulates your menstrual cycles, and it regulates that smooth flow of energy in your whole body. And when your energy's not going smoothly, then your liver's out of balance, then you're going to be prone to things like headaches. The liver can also have a lot to do with high blood pressure and neck tension. So you can also get tension headaches from liver imbalance. So in Chinese medicine, what we do is, of course, we would do acupuncture treatments. And what we do is help balance that energy. There are also herbs that help regulate the smooth flow of energy in your whole body and can prevent migraines from coming if that is the case for you. Now, there are possibly other reasons that people will get migraines. There was a period of time that I got migraines because I overworked. Like when I was a surgical resident, I would sometimes work 36 hours at a time in the hospital, or sometimes 24 hours. And then, being young, I would go out and do stuff. And so at a certain point, I would reach a certain level of fatigue, and then that would cause me to have to develop a migraine. And how I could tell that it was coming was always because my back would be hurting. And that also happened even when I wasn't on the pill. Like it would happen when I had overworked and just before my period, because just before your period, your energy's lower. A lot of times, for a lot of women, their energy drops just before their period. And so before my period, I would get this pain in the middle of my back. Well, the kidneys regulate your overall sense of having energy, big transitions in life. They also regulate your low back and your knees and your bones and many other things. But so when a person gets really, really tired, then their energy's low, and the kidneys are the organ that support all the other organs. So in Chinese medicine, they are the source of your energy. So when they're low in energy, the other organs don't feel supported. So then how you get a migraine that way would be that if your liver is not supported by your kidneys, so you're fatigued, and then your liver energy rises up because it's not being held down, and so then that can cause a migraine as well. So there's several ways from my perspective, that you could get a migraine. Anyway, there are many things that help migraines. So from the Chinese medicine perspective, there are some Chinese herbs that help balance the liver flow. Or if you're getting migraines because of fatigue and they're preceded by sort of low back pain, then you would take different Chinese herbs to help support your kidney and your liver. So there's combinations of herbs that will help that. There are also supplements that people take that help support that. And one of the main ones that I consider very valuable for many people, but especially if you're a person who's prone to having migraines, is magnesium. Magnesium helps relax your blood vessels. It also helps relax your muscles. So even if you have tension up in your neck and shoulders, magnesium is probably, from my perspective of Chinese medicine, it's the supplement, the Western supplement that the liver loves, because it helps relax the liver and it helps relax the flow of energy in your body. So it helps relax your blood vessels, it helps relax your muscles, It can help your digestion. So magnesium is a wonderful thing for migraines and for preventing them. And if you're a person who gets migraines before your period, or you kind of can predict when you're going to have a migraine, then it's good for you to take magnesium sort of consistently at that predictable time. The best form of magnesium, actually there's a form that I really love, is called magnesium, tri-magnesium, which is glycinate, malate, and there's a third component. Different chelations of magnesium are easier to digest. So the best that you could find over the counter would be like magnesium glycinate, which would be good for preventing migraines and wouldn't cause diarrhea. Now, it also help you sleep better and be more relaxed. So overall, I recommend magnesium if you're a person who's prone to have migraines. Another thing that will help prevent you from getting a migraine, or will support you in not getting one, is having the right amount of B vitamins in your system. So I always recommend taking a high quality multivitamin. And if you don't know what that is, just ask me, I will let you know. And but a B complex, and especially folate and B12, those are all supportive of your nervous system. And when your nervous system is getting all of the support that it needs, then it's less prone to having issues like migraines. Now, many people have talked about the different foods that trigger migraines, because there are people who are sensitive to certain foods, and some of that is nitrates. So those are all the foods that so many of us love, like dark chocolate or chocolate, caffeine or coffee, wine, red wine can trigger migraines. Really highly flavored foods that are pickled or processed, like salami, things like that, are also potential migraine triggers because they're high in nitrates. Another types of foods that can trigger migraines are, well, those are all the foods that can trigger migraines, but what you want to do if you want to prevent yourself, again, if you have a predictable time that you get migraines, is to take B vitamins, magnesium, and maybe some Chinese herbs if you have a practitioner who knows what herbs those might be. And you can then also take or avoid the foods that could trigger them. For me, whenever I got migraines, it was a perfect storm. It was a combination of working too much, trying to do too many things. I'm always a doer, so I'm always trying to do too many things, and not eating well, and being close to my period. So if I got that trifecta of terribleness, then I would get a migraine. And so I would just recommend that you do all kinds of things if you're a person who's prone to migraines to protect yourself from getting them. I don't see anybody tuning in right now, so if you are out there watching me, then please let me know that you're here and say something. And if not, then leave a comment later and I will come back and answer you. Okay, so one other thing, acupuncture. I highly recommend that if you have migraine issues, that you get acupuncture consistently. I literally one acupuncture treatment. I was on a cruise ship actually, and there was a guy on the ship who was having a terrible migraine. He could hardly function, and he was working for. Hi, Chris. Nice to see you. Thank you. Anyway, he was working on the ship and he was having a terrible migraine. He could barely function, and like I got it to go away in less than 5 minutes. So I think it's really valuable in an emergency situation. Like if you have a migraine, you can get it to go away right away, but also as a preventive so that you don't keep having them come back. There is always a place that I can put a needle that will help relax and heal your migraines. Now, one other thing, because some of you might be somewhat worried about needles or about acupuncture, and needles are tiny. You know, they're tiny, tiny, tiny. Here, I'm going to show you one just in case you're not one of my clients already, and most of you are. But it looks a lot larger on the video, but look, it's so tiny. Like, look at compared to my, and when I go like this, let's see, right there. You can see how tiny it is. Like, you can barely see it. It's almost as thin as a hair, and it's very flexible. And they don't hurt because, I'm going to throw that away, but they don't hurt because they're not designed to cut your tissues. They're designed to pass through your tissues, more like a sewing needle than the kinds of needles that we use for drawing blood. So I hope you found that helpful information, and I will look forward to seeing. Hi, Barb. Thank you for being here. It's so nice to have you. So, yeah, so if anybody has any questions, again, please hit me up, and I'll look forward to hearing from you again soon. All right. Thank you. Have a great evening.